Well, I just don't know how this can get any worse. I want to talk about Ezra Miller and the burglary, and then also mainly talking about that Ezra Miller, I guess, participated in just run-of-the-mill reshoots, additional photography over the summer. Now, Hollywood Reporter, which you imagine would never call out anybody for anything, they just throw it in there nonchalantly like, Ezra showed up to work. Ezra did the job well. There were no incidents while Ezra was on set. There were incidents before Ezra was on set. There were incidents right after Ezra was on set. But you know what? Ezra was back, and Ezra was better than ever. I really don't know what to say. Now, I've made probably more videos than most people want me to have made on Ezra Miller. That's actually part of the reason why I'm making this video on the second channel. But I really don't. I'm at a loss for words because I'm not kidding when I've made the prediction, and it is a rough prediction. I do not say it lightly, but like something needs to change here because I don't know what's going on. I've made the bold prediction of like, what's the percentage that Ezra, let's say, takes someone out, and you can read through the lines, between the lines. I'm not going to say it for YouTube purposes. What are the odds something like that happens before the Flash movie comes out? Ezra keeps upping the stakes, right? I mean, you have kidnapping. I mean, first you had like choke slamming pregnant women. That was fun. Then you had like other things, and it's kind of just like built up like a crescendo. And it has to come down. But you know what? I really don't think it does, to be honest with you. I think it can. I mean, there's plenty of crimes to be committed, to be honest with you. I mean, there's a long list, and Ezra hasn't checked them all off of the bucket list yet. So I imagine at some point something has to go really, really wrong. And again, I laugh out of, and I've said this every single time, I laugh out of hypocrisy. And I don't know how many times I have to say it. I don't know how many times DC or Warner Bros. Or whatever, how in God's name do you let Ezra Miller run around committing crimes like weekly? You have Amber Heard, who was the domestic violence perpetrator, not the victim, the one who did it. And then you get rid of Johnny Depp. And still to this day, we assume Amber is still in Aquaman 2. We still assume that The Flash is coming out. I really can't imagine The Flash releasing at this point, to be honest with you. At least, I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll talk about it as the video goes on. And Johnny Depp, I mean, there's no apology. Obviously, again, I don't expect him to come back as Grindelwald. Doesn't make any kind of sense, and we've talked about that before. But, like, this makes me even more upset because actually I've said this out loud to people where it's like, think about it. In a real world, in the world we live in, how do you promote, and I've asked this question, how do you promote The Flash? How do you actually do that? Because when The Flash comes out, if it does, right, June 23rd or whatever it is, if it comes out that day, what do you do? Ezra is the main lead. In fact, Ezra is like 3 parts of the movie, more than one character. How do you go on Jimmy Kimmel? Which, I mean, I don't care, by the way. Like, I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel. How do you go on Jimmy Kimmel? How do you do the red carpet? How do you do all these interviews with Variety and E! Online and all? How do you do that with Ezra Miller? Do you really put Ezra out there in the public eye to do these things? Can you really do that? My answer is hell no. And I feel like their answer is also no. But it's like, well, the movie so far, now I know there's been debate when all of this stuff has been happening with Warner Bros. Over the last couple of weeks, Batgirl being canceled, stuff like that. There were, from like Hollywood Reporter type sources, there were people saying that there is still talks internally, like they're not definitively on the movie releasing that day. There's been talks of potentially moving it again. I feel like you got to get rid of it. What else does Ezra need to do? But again, this story, the one from today when you guys would watch this video, it upsets me almost in a way that no other of these stories have, because it's like, okay, Ezra, and again, like, I know these people are heartless individuals. These people are not you and I. They're in their own Hollywood elite, not just the actors, but like the sites too. Hollywood Reporter, the way they word it, I was not kidding in the beginning of this video. They just throw it in like, Ezra was a good little, actor. Ezra showed up, everything was totally good, and then Ezra left and all was good. They behaved themselves, and that was it. And it's like, so I mean, are we gonna ignore the stuff that Ezra did, like the kidnapping, the baby with the bullets on the table? Are we gonna ignore that? Because I don't know if they know, but that happened before the summer or like early summer. So, the Hawaii incident, the running a cult thing, like there's kind of stuff that's happened. And I don't love, number one, the reporting that they don't even like make note of. Now, if it was Johnny Depp, of course they would bring up that he did stuff to Amber Heard, even though he didn't. They would do that. But for Ezra, it's, there were some incidents, and Ezra behaved themselves during the filming. I mean, what else do you want from the individual? What else can Ezra do? Are you serious? And then from Warner Bros. Perspective, it's like this. Like, look, I'm disappointed in them. I think they're a garbage company, mainly the film division. I actually love, and I've covered and I talk so much about their games, and I support a lot of their games. Maybe that's hypocritical. Maybe I should boycott companies at large, not just parts of them, which you could definitely say that I'm part of the problem in that way. But I'm like the movie department, the entertainment department of Warner Bros. I don't think there's a worse put together group of individuals. I mean, maybe Disney. Disney is fast declining. Warner Bros. I think easily takes the cake, because how do you do, in the same way that I talked about, how do you trot this individual out there on the red carpet when The Flash comes out? How do you invite Ezra back? I know you have to, like, for reshoots, but how do you invite Ezra back to do that? How did you, and what happened to all the people that they interviewed that were on set and said, Ezra was really good when we were filming The Flash, and they just became a completely different person. Like, I don't know this version of Ezra Miller right now. That's not what Ezra was like a couple of years ago. Like, all the directors and writers and producers, like, they all said that. Not all of them, but, individuals said that. Like, so you invited Ezra back because you had to, I assume. And did you, like, call the police? Because wasn't Ezra, like, on the run multiple different times during the summer and also, like, late spring? So, like, did you, like, check up on Ezra, make sure everything was okay? Like, did Ezra have any children with him, like, in the trailer? Like, what happened during how long was Ezra there? How long did they speak to, like, what? I'm at a loss for words. How do you do that? How do you bring Ezra back and just pretend like all this stuff didn't happen? How do you do it? I don't know. I'm done. I cannot believe it. I say it in all genuineness that I really think Ezra is not done. I mean, the crimes, you could argue if they're not crimes or not. I think there's more than enough that Ezra, if a normal individual, you or I, were to do even a quarter of what Ezra Miller has done, we'd be locked up easily. Easily. Let's not pretend that there's not a double standard here. Let's not, please. So I don't know how this ends. I assume it ends with Ezra continuing to up the ante because that feels right. You know what I mean? And again, like, I'm joking about it, but I mean, that's going to result in something very, very bad happening at some point, whether to Ezra themselves or whether to somebody else by Ezra or whatever. I don't know how you stop it. In fact, I do know. You arrest Ezra Miller. That's what you do. And I've said this before. I'm not like, this is not like a cruel-hearted thing. I think that sounded like you needed to say those things early on, whereas now people are kind of all in agreement where it's like, Ezra Miller is a piece of garbage. Like, why is Ezra Miller still on the streets, right? Back in the day, and I still believe this generally, like, well, okay, you can't do the stuff Ezra has done without serious mental problems, all right? Ezra needs help. Ezra probably has never gotten help. Now, I don't know if Ezra has denied help. See, that's on the individual. That's not on anybody who offers it. That's on that person, if that happened. I want Ezra Miller to get help, but you cannot get away with what you've done. Like that is unacceptable if we want, like, a society and a country. I really do believe that, okay? You can't have a lunatic breaking laws seemingly, and sometimes it literally is, every single week. Sometimes it's more than one time a week, right? You can't have that happen and say, well, Ezra just needs help, mentally unstable. Well, yeah, I mean, Ezra can get help after serving time or during serving time, but Ezra needs to be locked up because you just can't do this stuff. Again, we're kidding. People literally live in a loony world if you think that you or I could do the same thing as Ezra and we would still be just as okay. That is nuts, okay? Ezra's privileged, and that's why they're getting away with it. That's it. That is it, all right? I want to make that very clear. I don't think that's a harsh thing to say whatsoever. I am shocked. I'm not – well, no, you know what? I am shocked, but at the same time, I'm not, because we're dealing with Warner Bros. Again, I mean, you just expect the absolute worst. You expect the worst from a lot of these companies. Again, I'm excited personally to see where it goes. Like, how much better can this get? How many more crimes can Ezra, rattle off in such short time while also facing no penalties for it? Both in jail time and also the blockbuster movie that cost $300 million. Is the budget will, after promotion, all that stuff, 550 million, maybe 600 million in order to break even. It's one of the biggest movies actually in that way, cost of all time. So I'm very happy for it that you get that gigantic thing that's going to hopefully bomb. I hope it bombs, and I think it will. I at this point, like, and by bomb, I don't mean like it'll make 100 million. Of course, it's going to make more than that. But I mean, if this thing makes 400, 500, 600 million, that is not a success. That's not, because if the movie costs 600, you just broke even. You're not making any money, and you probably are hurting. No, not probably. You are hurting your reputation this entire time. The reputation of Warner Bros. Is just continuing to get worse. I've criticized or gone after it for Amber Heard and Aquaman and Ezra and all that stuff. But you could look at what has just happened with Batgirl, which, like it or not, or, if the movie was going to be complete trash or not, it doesn't send a good look to, like, creatives, right? People who want to make movies, when it's like, oh, you can cancel our movie like a day before, it was done. So it's a bad look in that aspect. Even, to me, it's not the same thing, as Ezra Miller running around committing, crimes just daily. But that's the way it is. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I'll see you all on tomorrow's video.